It was a time when almost no one owned a car or a horse, and long distances were walked on foot. The protagonist of this story traveled many miles to buy supplies in town. The trip to the city was peaceful, but on the way back, the sun had already disappeared completely. The dark road seemed to watch him in a deep and unsettling silence. The shadows of the trees stretched like twisted arms along the path. The wind blew softly but produced sounds that felt like whispers. He tried to ignore the growing uneasiness building inside his chest. Even so, the feeling that something was wrong grew stronger with every step. As he walked, he noticed a man standing in the middle of the road. The stranger appeared as if he had emerged straight from the darkness. The traveler greeted him out of politeness, though his voice trembled slightly. The stranger replied with a faint smile and a voice far too quiet for such an empty road. They walked together for a few minutes, side by side, in an uncomfortable silence. The stranger asked strange questions about life, death, and destiny. Questions that made the traveler uneasy, though he tried to remain calm. The silence between the questions was even more disturbing than the questions themselves. The traveler tried to walk faster to put some distance between them, but the stranger always matched his pace, like a shadow copying his movements. The man noticed that the stranger made no sound at all when he walked. No twig snapped, no breathing, nothing. Suddenly, the stranger mentioned that the night was too dangerous to walk alone. He suggested that the traveler sleep at his house and continue his journey in the morning. He pointed toward a narrow trail that entered the dense forest. The traveler didn't remember any house in that direction, but fatigue slowly overtook him. The trail was dark, and branches scratched his clothes as they moved forward. The moonlight barely filtered through the thick canopy of leaves above them. After a few minutes of walking, a small house appeared between the trees. The house looked far too old, as if no one had lived there for many years. The host opened the door, and the house was tidy yet strangely cold. There was a simple bed covered with an old folded blanket. The host said he could sleep there and rest without worry. The traveler thanked him with a timid smile, despite every instinct telling him to run. He lay down and felt his entire body relax almost instantly. The silence inside the house was suffocating, as if the air itself was trapped. The host stood beside the door, watching him without blinking. Little by little, his vision grew blurry, and everything faded. During the night, he had the impression of hearing distant voices whispering his name. He felt cold hands touching his arms, yet he couldn't react. He tried to open his eyes, but something heavy held his eyelids shut. It was as if he were trapped inside his own body. He woke up suddenly with the sun shining directly on his face. The bed had completely vanished. He was lying on cold ground surrounded by tall, wet grass. When he stood up, he realized he was in the middle of the town cemetery. He looked around in shock, trying to understand what he was seeing. The bag of supplies was beside him, as if someone had placed it there intentionally. There was no sign of the stranger or the trail in the woods, as if the house had never existed. He ran toward the cemetery gate with his heart pounding. The gate was locked from the inside, as if he had entered on his own. With effort, he managed to break the rusty latch. He ran down the road without looking back. He arrived home shaking and barely able to speak. He told his family what happened, but no one believed him. They said he must have fainted from exhaustion on the way back. No one paid attention to the terror still gripping his voice. The traveler tried to return to his normal life in the following days, but every time he closed his eyes, he saw the stranger's face standing in the darkness. Sometimes while walking at night, he heard footsteps behind him matching his pace, and he swore he could hear the same soft voice whispering his name in the dark.